Okay, so welcome everyone back to SALY, or Science as a Lifestyle for Youth. This is our seventh lesson, and today we will be talking about dinosaurs, okay? So we'll first go into the basics of dinosaurs. We'll talk a little bit about some like fossils or like paleontology, some common misconceptions. We'll talk about some modern dinosaurs and some amazing and kind of like insane dinosaurs that I kind of just like was looking around for and found. And then we'll talk about the future of maybe bringing back dinosaurs. And then finally, we'll do a fun Kahoot at the end. And if you have a question, you can type it in the chat. And then I'll try to answer it as soon as I can. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what are dinosaurs? Most of you are probably familiar what dinosaurs are already, but just to reinforce that, they're prehistoric reptiles. Okay, so they're reptiles, kind of like snakes or lizards, right? Okay, and then there's many different types of dinosaurs, from T-Rexes to dinosaurs that are the size of chickens, or flying dinosaurs, or amphibious dinosaurs that live in the water. Okay, and then, so one key characteristic of dinosaurs is that they have an upright stance. So as you can see on the picture of the right, their legs are at a 90-degree angle with their body. They're just straight legs, right? While other previous ancestors to dinosaurs had a sprawling stance with their legs kind of at like a 45-degree angle. So this upright stance that dinosaurs had allowed dinosaurs to be more energy efficient and run faster and be better hunters and be faster in general and more efficient in general than their ancestors. So that's why dinosaurs became so dominant and so widespread. And another reason why dinosaurs became dominant was they had two holes behind their eye socket that allowed for their jaws to be stronger and open up wider. So they were better hunters and they could outcompete its ancestors, right? And just like all reptiles, they laid eggs. Okay. Okay, so when did dinosaurs live? So dinosaurs lived in the Mesozoic era, which was from 245 to 66 million years ago. So that's a pretty long time, right? And then, so they lived in three different periods. Okay, so they lived in the Mesozoic era. So as you can see on this picture to the right, the geologic timeline. So time is broken up into eons, eras, periods, and epochs, or epochs, some people say. So this is during the Mesozoic era. And then inside the Mesozoic era, there's three different periods, right? So the Mesozoic era is the era right before the era that we live in, which is the Cenozoic era. Okay, and so they lived in the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous periods. Okay, so first let's talk about the Triassic period from 251 to 199 million years ago. So during the Triassic period, the world was one single continent, which is called Pangaea. So right now, as you know, we have 7 continents, but back then, all the continents were combined as one. So because of this and other climate characteristics, there was no polar ice caps. So the climate during this time period was pretty dry. They had hot summers and really cold winters. It was a really dry climate. And they had lots of deserts. And it's the life that lived during that time reflects that. And also during the end of this Triassic period, there's the Permian extinction. So that was when there was lots of massive volcanic eruptions all over the world. So it released a lot of poisonous gas into the air, like mercury, and then also a lot of CO2 or carbon dioxide, which led to a lot of global warming. Some studies show that the temperature around the world increased by about or 10 degrees, which is quite a lot, because you might hear in the news that, oh, if the world increases by 1 or 2 degrees, that a lot of coastal cities can flood. But during this time, it increased by 10 degrees. So it killed off a lot of life, both on land and in the water. So someone asked, what are periods? So if we go back, just to make it a little clear, so time is broken up into like big lengths of time and short lengths of time. So the big length of time that the dinosaurs lived in was the Mesozoic era, which was from 245 to 66 million years ago. And inside this Mesozoic era, there's 3 different periods, right? So kind of like how you have a school day, right? So your school day is kind of like the Mesozoic era. The school day is from whatever, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And inside that school day, you have different class periods, right? So those different class periods are kind of like the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods. So you can think of it like that. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so moving on about the Triassic period, some of the plant and insect life that lived during this era were mostly mosses and ferns in coastal regions. And then they also had spiders, scorpions, millipedes, centipedes, and beetles. And basically, there wasn't much evolution or diversification in plant and insect life. The only basically like new like species or genus was grasshoppers, but there wasn't too much evolution in plant and insect life. But in terms of reptiles, this is the period that dinosaurs first appeared. So back then there was 2 types of reptiles. There were theropsids, which were mammal-like reptiles, but they went extinct. But we also think that they were the ancestor to mammals. But so they eventually evolved to become mammals. But dinosaurs come from the archosaurs. Sorry, I don't really know how to pronounce it. But so these archosaurs were more reptilian and more familiar with the dinosaurs that you think of, right? So these archosaurs and theropsids were in competition with one another, but eventually the archosaurs became more dominant due to their stronger jaw and bone structure that we talked about before. If you remember, their stronger jaw allows them to be better predators and outcompete other reptiles. So this type of reptile is where dinosaurs evolved from. Okay, so now we're gonna look at some examples of dinosaurs that lived in the Triassic period. So in general, this is where dinosaurs first evolved. So the dinosaurs during this time weren't very diverse and they were relatively smaller. So I used this website, the Natural History Museum, UK. So if you go to this website, you can search up a lot of different dinosaurs that lived in the Triassic period, and you can look at them by their name, where they lived, where they were found, the type of dinosaur, what they ate. So this is just a great website for you to look at in your own free time if you're interested. But as you can see, the dinosaurs that lived during this time were quite similar, right? There weren't the horns and the spikes and the shells that you see in the later periods, right? Because this is the period that dinosaurs first evolved in. So I don't know, let's look at this dinosaur, for example. I'm not even gonna try to say this. I think it was Guibasaurus. But if you go to this website, you can see its diet it ate plants. It lived during the late Triassic. It was found in Brazil. The type of dinosaurs, its length was 1.8 meters. So in comparison to a human, it was relatively smaller, which was like many dinosaurs during this period. So those are just some examples of that. Okay, now going into the Jurassic period. This is the period that most of you are probably the most familiar with, right? Because of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and all those Steven Spielberg movies, right? So the Jurassic period was from about 200 million years ago to 145 million years ago. And during this period, the giant supercontinent Pangaea started to break up into two different continents. So as you can see on the picture to the right, and this is due to plate tectonics and the continental plates being shifted by the mesosphere below it. But that's a topic for a different time. But so the continents started spreading apart, and the climate became wetter and warmer, which led to more diversity in plants and animals. So the plant life during this period had a lot of big leaps. The plant life in the Triassic period, as I mentioned before, was mostly low-growing mosses and ferns. Low-growing mosses, but during this period, there became a lot more ferns with roots and vascular tissues that allowed for the plant to move water and nutrients. So vascular tissue is just basically tissue with like holes or different tubes, kind of like stems. Stems are a part of vascular tissues, right? So also during this time, conifers evolved. Here, let me. Okay, here we're good. Yeah. Okay. Conifers evolved, which are cone-bearing plants. Like if you think of different like evergreen trees or whatever, they have like pine trees, right? They have like pine cones, right? Those are conifers. So they use the wind to help them reproduce. And then also mammals evolved during this time. But the mammals this is like when mammals like first came up. So they were quite small and shrew-like. They kind of looked like little mouses or rats, right? So this is kind of a picture of an early mammal on the top right. And as all of you probably know, humans are mammals. So we evolved from mammals that, we might have evolved from mammals that looked like that. And then also during this time, dinosaurs started really dominating and becoming very widespread. So dinosaurs got bigger and more diverse, just because of their advantages, like before, like their stronger jaw and their more energy efficient legs. And they got more bigger and diverse, both with the meat-eating dinosaurs and plant-eating dinosaurs. So one common example you might know is the Brachiosaurus. I think it was in Jurassic Park, but it's one of the huge sauropods that were during the Jurassic period. So let's look at some dinosaurs during the Jurassic period. Okay, so you might be starting to see some more familiar dinosaurs like the Allosaurus, which was similar to the T-Rex, the Brachiosaurus, and now you're starting to see more diversity, right? Like you're starting to see more spikes and more dinosaurs with shells, and so there's a lot more diversity. Like Stegosaurus lived during this time period. But you might notice that you don't see Triceratops, you don't see T-Rexes. Those lived in a later period. So what you see in the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies aren't necessarily true. Like in the Jurassic Park movies, you might have seen like velociraptors or T-Rexes attacking a Stegosaurus or attacking a Brachiosaurus, but they lived in different time periods, so that didn't actually happen. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now going into the last period that dinosaurs lived in was the Cretaceous period, which was from 145 to 65 million years ago. So during this period, the continents still started to shift. So the modern continents that you know started to form. So as you can see in this picture on the right, you can start seeing Africa in the middle here, South America, Antarctica, Asia, the North American continent. You can start seeing the modern continents starting to form. But also don't think that this happened overnight. This is over millions and millions of years that these continents start to move. And even right now, the continents are still moving. I think it's at a rate of like 1 centimeter a year. So it's very slow, but over millions and millions of years, they move quite a lot. So during this period, the sea level was higher than ever, which led to even more diversity in plants and animals, just because it had a different climate. And this period ended with the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. So this was the extinction event that you're probably most familiar with. It was the asteroid that came down in Mexico and caused a bunch of ash to go in the air and caused a lot of extinction, which included all the dinosaurs, or not all of them, but most of the dinosaurs and 75% of all species on Earth. Okay, so going to some of the plant life, during this time, flower plants evolved. So this is not just, I guess, flowers that you see in your garden, but flowering plants include a lot of like fruits and vegetables, right? A lot of fruits and vegetables are flowering plants. So they evolved during this time period. And then during this time, mammals also evolved to have placental mammals, which if you don't know, it's like when you're born, like the baby is covered in like a placenta. So those are like kind of like modern mammals like rodents, cats, whales, cows, and primates, which include humans. We evolved from placental mammals. So during this time, it kind of led to humans being evolved down the line. And then also marsupial mammals evolved. So these are mammals that have a pouch, right, on their stomach, like kangaroos, koalas, and possums. And then also dinosaurs became more diverse with having duck-billed dinosaurs and horned dinosaurs. And this is the time period that the T-Rex, as you see it to the right, this is the time period that the T-Rex lived. So during this period is probably where you see the most familiar dinosaurs, such as the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the T-Rex, the Triceratops, Velociraptor, Spinosaurus. So you see a lot of dinosaurs lived during this time period. So these are just some examples. So as you can see, we have a lot more diversity. And let me try to find a duck-billed dinosaur. Actually, let me just search it up. Duck-billed dinosaur, Cretaceous. Okay, so duck-billed dinosaurs kind of look like this, right? So they kind of have like similarities to having like kind of like a duck, right? So during this time, duck-billed dinosaurs were very common. And then, okay, I guess we can move on now. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about paleontology, which, as all of you know, is like the study of fossils in order to better understand evolution and the history of the Earth, basically. So we're going to watch a little video that explains what paleontology is and what it's like. Okay, so let me share computer sound and optimize video. Okay. All right, let me know if you guys can hear it.
All of this talk of fossilization makes me wonder, how does this process work?
Can you guys all hear the video? Maybe you can do a thumbs up. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, well, the first thing to know is that there are different kinds of fossils, bones and exoskeletons like shells, petrified wood, and even trace fossils like footprints and coprolites, fossil poop. The stromatolites we saw are another example of a trace fossil. But when it comes to figuring out how fossils form, that's a question we need an expert to help answer. And lucky for me, I know where to go to find one. We're on our way to the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology in Rapid City to meet with Dr. Sarah Keenan.
Hey Sarah, it's nice to see you. We're gonna go check out some dead animals?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Dr. Keenan specializes in taphonomy, a branch of paleontology that studies the different aspects of the fossilization process. She invited us to join her on an excursion to her field site, where she's collecting soil samples for an ongoing experiment. Sarah, how did you get interested in taphonomy?
There was never really a discussion of how you actually have bones preserved as fossils. So one of the first step to try to figuring that out is to watching things decompose today in nature.
That's interesting. It's like the big unanswered question.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, there are fossils here,
Yep.
but how did they get to become a fossil?
Yeah, exactly.
Part of the reason why fossils are so rare is because the conditions have to be absolutely perfect in order for an organism to transform into a fossil. The first step for a plant or animal to become fossilized is, well, it needs to die, and preferably in a depositional environment. That is, in an area where it can quickly become buried in sediment before it can be consumed or carried away by scavengers. This is why many fossils are found from ancient river, lake, and ocean ecosystems, and not from ancient deserts. You are much more likely to find a fossil fish than you will a fossil cactus. But there are still many other factors to consider for fossilization to occur, and that's what Dr. Keenan is helping to figure out.
As paleontologists, we're left with the hard parts, and we can study those. We can study their chemistry. We can use the chemistry to reconstruct the depositional environment that the bones were preserved in.
Wow. So you were able to extrapolate from your research even more information about the environment in which the animal lived, even if that environment is 30 million or 60 million or 100 million years old.
Yeah. Yep. What? Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you're like a true crime detective for fossils.
Yeah.
And so how do you achieve this?
So I am able to obtain salvaged animals from nuisance trappers and watch them decompose.
What is the worst stage of an animal's decomposition? Is it the bloat or the pancake?
Definitely the pancake, definitely active.
Really?
There are just so many maggots that it's disgusting. I mean, if you ever find roadkill and you're curious, if you see maggots, you should definitely stop and look, because they form this like pulsating mass, and then they break down tissues, they excrete the waste and form this foam. So it's like a thriving, writhing mass of foaming maggots.
Cool. And that's what we're on our way to go see?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna go check out. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Let's go. Yeah. Oh my goodness! Oh, you weren't lying when you said it was in the pancake stage.
Yep, it is in the pancake stage.
Wow.
The insects have done a pretty good job. Yeah, it's a little fragrant.
Yeah.
It's a little fragrant still because it rained, so it kind of opened up the scent.
Perfuming.
Yes.
And what are you going to do with this now?
So now we can sample the soil underneath this carcass and quantify the chemistry of the soil, and that can tell us, how much was released from the carcass.
And how does that help inform the taphonomic process?
So this is the first environment that bones are going to be exposed to when an animal dies. So all of this change in the chemistry changes things like pH. So if you change the pH, you can potentially either enhance the potential for preservation of bone or decrease it. So all of that is you can get from the soil.
I've never done an experiment in the field.
Really?
Yeah. Sir, would you say that you are outstanding in your field? That was a joke. Yes. It's a pun. Get it? Because we're standing in a field. Out. Okay.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do and how you can help, I will auger the soil.
Okay.
And then I need you to pick through it and pick out any grass or rocks or bugs or anything.
I can do that.
Can you handle that?
Yep.
Okay.
So you come out here throughout the course of this thing decomposing, taking various samples and watching that pH number change, and then comparing it to samples where there haven't been any dead animals.
Yep.
And this just informs the nutrient cycling of how an animal decomposes.
Yep, exactly.
How its molecules and particles get back into the earth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, maggot!
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Well, that's disgusting. I'm gonna put that over there. Just your average day, digging through some dirt.
Average day.
Yeah. I think it is really interesting that you can take a dead animal and put it out here in a field and watch it decompose and learn interesting things about how fossils form.
Yep.
And by studying this process, helps people like Dr. Keenan solve mysteries of what the environment was like for an animal 20 or 30 or 100 million years ago. It's amazing. All that from just studying one stinky skunk in a field.
Okay.
I don't know why I smelled it. It smells like dirt. This is how science happens. It's cool. I don't know. I don't even mind the smell, to be honest with you. It's like the smell of success. It's the smell of unanswered questions and the smell of a new scientific voyage into a frontier yet undiscovered. That's what it smells like to me. In my heart of hearts.
Okay, so that was just a quick little video. Hopefully you got a little bit better understanding of how fossils form and a little bit about what paleontology is about. Here, let me... Okay. So we have some questions. So the first question is, what about mammoths? So if you don't know, mammoths are, they kind of look like modern elephants, but they had a thick coat of fur. They were called woolly mammoths, right? So it's kind of like wool that sheep have, right? So someone asked, when did mammoths live? So mammoths didn't actually live during the time of dinosaurs. So if you look back during this geologic timeline, right? So the dinosaurs lived in the Mesozoic era, but mammoths lived in the Cenozoic era during the Quaternary period, and actually during the Holocene epoch, which was when humans showed up. So mammoths actually lived during the time of early humans, so much later than dinosaurs. And then someone asked, are the dinosaur sketches on the website black and white because people don't know their actual color? So it's true, like the dinosaur sketches over here were black and white. And the reason for this is you're kind of correct. The people can't really determine what dinosaur color was actually like because we don't really know. Because over time, you know, color fades and can be affected by the environment. So scientists have to make guesses about what the colors are like. And in the past, what you might be familiar with, you might think that dinosaurs were all green and brown and gray and these dull colors so they can blend into the rainforest. But what scientists have actually found recently was that they think some dinosaurs might have been brightly colored with different, a wide variety of colors like reds, blues, greens. And the reason they think this is, first of all, many modern birds, and as we'll talk about later, birds are the modern version of dinosaurs. Many modern birds are colored with a lot of different colors and a lot of various colors. So they think that dinosaurs also could have possibly have been covered with many different colors. And then also, recently scientists have studied the pigments found in dinosaur skin, and they determined that these pigments align with certain colors, so they have evidence that dinosaurs were brightly colored and not just boring and dull colors like gray and green. Okay, so someone asked, why do dinosaurs have scales? So as you know, many reptiles nowadays, like lizards and snakes, have scales. But what we will learn later is that some modern discoveries have found that maybe dinosaurs weren't just covered in scales, but maybe feathers instead. Okay, so now we'll talk about some modern misconceptions because that's kind of what we are touching on already. So many scientists have found, and the general consensus is that dinosaurs were actually probably covered by feathers and not scales. And as you know, as many of you might know, birds are modern dinosaurs. And the modern birds that we see evolved directly from dinosaurs. And then also, some misconceptions is that all dinosaurs were big. And while there were some very big dinosaurs, many of the dinosaurs were actually pretty small. And the movies like Jurassic Park often depict certain dinosaurs as being very big, but in reality, they weren't that big. So, for example, the Velociraptor, right? So you might remember it from Jurassic World. It was the dinosaurs that Chris Pratt trained, right? The velociraptors in the movie, they were taller than humans. But in reality, the velociraptors were the size of a dog, basically. Oh, someone is. Okay. And then also, not all the dinosaurs were just green and brown, they had a wide diversity of colors, as I mentioned before. And the reason for this, and the reason why many birds nowadays have a wide diversity of colors, is to attract mates, right? Kind of like peacocks, right? Having a lot of colors can help attract possible mates. um, and then also, kind of like I mentioned before, birds are like the modern dinosaurs. Okay, so someone asked, is the bird closer to dinosaurs or chickens? So, chickens are a type of modern bird. So I guess chickens and birds are kind of equally related to dinosaurs. Um, and then someone asked, do they have food? Do they have the country China? I guess that mean so dinosaurs were found all over the world. So including China, and they were found all over the world through fossils, like you watch in the Paleontology movie. Um, and also, do they have food? So yeah, dinosaurs had many different types of food. Some were herbivores, which mean they ate plants. Some were carnivores, which means they ate other dinosaurs or smaller organisms. So someone asked, alligators, are they also dinosaurs? So alligators evolve. Alligators are very old. Um, and so certain ancestors of alligators actually lived during the period of um, dinosaurs. So I guess, yeah, you could consider alligators and crocodiles um, types of dinosaurs. So let me just confirm that. Okay. Actually, it seems like alligators are not dinosaurs, but alligators have ancestors that lived during the period of dinosaurs. So alligators are not dinosaurs. Okay, so I guess we should move on now. So right now I'm just gonna talk about some cool dinosaurs that I found. So I want you all to, in the chat, as I go through these, rate the dinosaurs on a coolness of 1 to 10. Here, 1 second. Let me. Uh-oh. Someone drew on the screen. Okay, let me just erase that real quick. Okay. All right, so in the chat, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 of how cool you think it is. So this dinosaur was quite long. It was wider than an elephant, almost as tall as an elephant. And so this one was more of a plant eater, right? As you can tell, it doesn't have sharp teeth. It kind of has like a beak to use to eat plants. And it was covered in these hard scales and this hard shell. And then its tail, it has like a big club that it uses to swing at dinosaurs. So seems like some people like it, some people don't. Okay, that's fair. Okay, moving on. Okay, next we have the Dreadnoughtus. So this is thought to be the largest terrestrial being ever. So it was 85 feet tall from head to tail. So that's an elephant right there. And this is probably the size of like 4 or 5 elephants tall. And it weighed 65 tons, which is how much a dozen or 12 elephants weighed. So this one is pretty massive, pretty massive. So just imagine how tall the trees were during this time period. Okay, so this is the Longasquama insignis, I think. So this dinosaur, as you can see, its most distinctive feature are these kind of feather-like things on its back. Scientists believe that these things on its back were the precursor to modern feathers that birds have, possibly. So I think this is pretty cool. And then next we have, I'm not going to try to say that. So this dinosaur had wings on its hind legs, which is very odd and peculiar, because many birds that you know have wings on its front legs, right? But this one had wings on its hind legs. So scientists aren't really sure how it walked, but that's kind of a mystery. So this is kind of a weird exception to many birds or flying reptiles, right? Okay, it seems a lot of people like this one. Okay, next we have this dinosaur, which it had a bizarre, it had 2 rows of parallel spines along its neck and its back. And this was a sauropod. So it's related to this dinosaur and the Brachiosaurus, right? The long necks. This is related to that. So it was kind of weird that it had spines on its neck. And it had spines that were longer than any other sauropod. This artist rendition thinks it's kind of like rainbow colored. Okay, so those are just some cool dinosaurs. Just to let you know, there's so many dinosaurs back then, right? They were the main dominant I guess, organism, right, during the time period. So they were very diverse, just like how nowadays we have so many different animal species, right? Okay, so now I know the big question all of you have is, can we bring back dinosaurs, right? You probably watching Jurassic Park, how they brought back dinosaurs using mosquito DNA during that time period. But is it realistic that we can bring dinosaurs back to life? Okay, so we're gonna watch this video. Let me share my sound. I won't make it too loud this time. You can let me know if it's too loud, but I will try to make it not too loud. Okay. Can you guys all hear that?
The dinosaur.
Can you guys all hear that? Is all good? Yeah.
All good.
All right, thank you.
Despite being wiped out by an asteroid 65 million years ago, these gigantic reptiles still live on in popular culture. But could we actually bring them back to life? Jurassic Park popularized the idea that it could one day be possible. In the movie, they're resurrected by taking the dinosaur DNA from ancient mosquitoes that have been preserved in amber for millions of years. Unfortunately, this is extremely unlikely.
So mosquitoes trapped in amber are not a particularly good source of DNA. There's no good source of DNA that's more than 700,000 years old, and dinosaurs are much further back than that.
Whilst we might not be able to use dino DNA to clone them, all hope is not lost. Another possible way of bringing back the dinosaurs would be to reverse engineer one, starting with a living species and then working backwards.
If we were to take a crack at dinosaurs at all, it would be more based on looking at the features in modern species, like ostriches, how parts of the ostrich body have scales rather than feathers, how you would get the hands and claws back where they currently have wings. We've engineered elephant cells so that they have material from ancient mammoth DNA. And then the goal of that is to see if we can recreate some of the traits of the mammoth in the laboratory, and that's going quite well. Embedded in that is our technologies developed that allow us to read the ancient DNA, which did not exist 25 years ago, but now my lab and others have developed so-called next generation sequencing, which allows us to sequence literally thousands of genomes of ancient animals, and also to synthesize the DNA on a large scale to recreate those ancient animals.
So, can we really bring the dinosaurs back to life?
I hesitate to say impossible, but certainly at present it's quite challenging to bring parts of species back. And for dinosaurs, we have no DNA. The best we could do with our current understanding would be to bring back the features of dinosaurs based on their closest relatives, which are the large birds.
It looks like we're very far off from recreating real dinosaurs. For now, we'll have to make do with seeing them on the silver screen.
Clever girl.
Okay, so that was just a quick video. So to answer the big question, can we bring back dinosaurs? Probably not, at least not exactly what dinosaurs were like, right? Because we don't have DNA that has survived that long, because over time DNA degrades and gets destroyed just by the environment. But what kind of like what he was saying in the video, if you didn't understand, basically we can kind of reverse engineer and take modern birds and kind of implement features that dinosaurs had, right? Maybe like claws instead of wings. So in that sense, maybe in the future we can create dinosaur-like things. But even if we could, do you guys think that bringing back dinosaurs is a good idea? You can type in the chat, would you want dinosaurs in real life? You can type in the chat. Personally, I don't know if I want dinosaurs back, you know, because they're quite large, some of them. Maybe some of the smaller dinosaurs, and some of the plant-eating dinosaurs. Maybe those would be cool. Maybe like Stegosaurus or a Triceratops. I think that would be cool. But the T-Rex, I'm fine with that being extinct. So let me check the chat. Some of you are saying no. A lot of people are saying no. Yeah, some people are saying yes, but no. So kind of like a mix, but yeah. So that's a big question. That's a question that a lot of people are struggling with. Genetics. Genetics is a very powerful field, but you have to be careful with what you do with it, right? So you have to think about the consequences of the things you create. Okay, but enough about that. Time for a fun Kahoot. See if we have time. Okay, let's do this one. Okay. Alright, so if you go to kahoot.it and type in this game pin, and then you can use your real name, or you can use, actually everyone use a fun name, so don't use your real name. Use like a goofy name or whatever. And then also someone asked, someone said maybe mammoths would be okay to bring back. So another reason why we have to be careful with bringing back organisms is that if we bring them back, they don't have an established place in the food chain. They don't have an established position in the food web, right? So bringing back organisms that were extinct that might disrupt the ecosystem and might disrupt the food web. So that's also a reason why genetics and bringing back past organisms is a controversial topic, because we don't know how it will affect the environment and the ecosystem, right? So we kind of learned about that when we talked about ecology. Okay, so let's see. We have 26 people. So we are waiting for a few people. I'll give you guys 1 more minute. You can type in the chat to me if you have any difficulties. But in the chat, I'll type the game pin. So even if you don't join at the beginning, you can join in the middle of the game. So that's the game pin.
I can't sign in to Kahoot.
Someone said, okay, so if you type in your web browser, you can type www.kahoot.it. And then
I typed in Kahoot, but I didn't sign up, and I don't know what to do with create.
You don't have to sign in. You can just click play and then type the code in.
okay, so for people who might not know, this is how you go to. So if you go to your web browser, you go to kahoot.it, and then ask for a game pin. So you just type in this number over here.
Yeah. If you type in Kahoot, then you'll have to like.
There's something that says sign up for free, but there's nothing that said not to sign up.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't have to sign up or anything. If you search up Kahoot, don't click Kahoot.com. Click Kahoot.it. Kahoot.it.
I think I got in, but what's the game?
Okay, the game pin's in the chat. It's 664260. Okay. All right. All right, and then could everyone, you can mute yourself, and then if you have more issues, but we're going to start now.
What's the nickname?
You can do whatever you want. Just don't use your real name. You can do whatever though. So these are just goofy questions. So you can kind of see that this dinosaur has very short arms. So the question is asking, if it evolved anymore, would it not have arms at all? Okay, so the answer is yes. So the reason that like T-Rexes have short arms is that they don't really have a use for it. So that's why when things evolve and when things evolve and they don't really need things anymore, they just get smaller and smaller. Like all humans, we have tailbones, right? And if you look at different monkeys, they still have tails, but humans evolved so that we didn't really need tails anymore. So eventually our tails got smaller and smaller, so we just have a little tailbone now. Okay, out of these dinosaurs, which one can swim? So you kind of just have to guess by the name.
Spinosaurus.
Yes.
Okay, so the answer is the Spinosaurus. Can dinosaurs fly?
Dang, I got it incorrect. Oof. Yeah. I think I'm wrong.
I honestly don't think they should have phrased it that way. Because if they wanted to know,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, try not to talk because it's being recorded, so I don't have the. But yeah, it was a kind of a weird question. You can ignore that. Okay, which dinosaur is the link between dinosaurs and birds?
No, I got it wrong.
Okay, this one was kind of hard. All right. Okay, which one of these is the biggest carnivore? It's okay if you don't know. This is just for fun. A lot of these I don't even know, so it's okay. Okay, the answer is a spinosaur. Which one of these is the biggest herbivore? So the answer is the Brachiosaurus. So the Allosaurus and the Spinosaur aren't even herbivores. They're actually carnivores. So these are the standings. How many dinosaurs have paleontologists discovered? So keep in mind, this is not how many dinosaurs existed. There was probably thousands and thousands of different dinosaur species, but this is just how many we have discovered from their fossils. So the answer is 700. Okay, true or false? Dinosaurs can come back to life like in Jurassic Park. Okay, so the answer is false, as we know from watching the video. Do you like dinosaurs? Be very careful with your answers. Okay, so they're all right. 3 points. What is the heaviest dinosaur? So the answer is the Argentinosaur. So it means tiny, thick-headed lizard. What record micro? I don't know. Okay, so the answer is the longest name. Okay, what dinosaur is the fastest? So the correct answer is the Gallimimus, which the fastest speed was like 29 to 34 miles per hour. So last question. Which name means egg thief? So the answer is Oviraptor. Okay. So in third place, we have Brianna Plays with a Z. In second place, we have Ah. And in first place, we have that face. Oh yes, smiley face. And runners up, we have those people. Okay. Okay, so good job everyone. Thank you for coming today. I hope you learned a lot. We don't really have time to talk about this, but you can try to reflect on what you learned. Maybe talk to your parents what you learned today. And then I hope all of you have a nice Sunday, and I hope to see you all soon. So thank you for coming, and you can leave now. Okay, bye everyone.